live, ECU?
R.
Do you bleed purple and gold? Are you ready to hoist the colors?
Hoist the colors!
It's time for the most in-depth look into the world of ECU athletics. Welcome to Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game. Watch the show live on Facebook and at 943thegame.com. Here's Stephen Igo.
Welcome in. It is Hoist the Colors. We are live on YouTube, Facebook, and X 2 days out from East Carolina taking on Coastal Carolina in the second ever football meeting between the two institutions, Pirates and Chanticleer, 7:30 kickoff on Saturday. We'll talk about that throughout the next hour. We're going to visit with Coastal Carolina play-by-play voice Chris Burgin, get the insight on what's going on with the Chanticleer's offense and a whole lot more, what fans can expect making the trip down to Conway. Of course, free concessions are available with a ticket to the ball game. He told us, and you'll hear it during the interview, 27,000 hot dogs, he believes, were sold last week, or not even sold, given away from Coastal Carolina. We'll also visit with the ECU Sports Network sideline reporter Maceo. Donald Maceo joins us each and every week throughout the football season. It'll be good to catch up with Maceo, get his thoughts on the Campbell game, and looking ahead to Coastal Carolina. Philip Pilkington producing today back in the 94.3 The Game studios. Of course, it is 9/11, September 11th. Wanted to start there. And we also don't get but so political on this show, but I don't even think it's political. It's just everything that happened yesterday with the death of activist Charlie Kirk, murdered in cold blood. And just at age 31, he's the father of two kids, obviously has a wife. I'm 33. I've got two kids. I have a wife as well. And it just makes you really sit and think sometimes when stuff like this happens, what's going on with our world. And then, of course, 9/11. And so many memories there. I know I can still remember it. I was in art class as a youngster at Wintergreen Intermediate. And I remember my art teacher just, being in shock, pulling up a small TV. And I can vividly remember the images of the plane crashing into the World Trade Center on that tiny TV, which at the time was about this big. But still remember it obviously being pulled out of class. So still sticks with me to this day, 9/11 and everything that came after that, the aftermath of it, and we still feel it to this day. I know, Philip, you were very young at the time as well, but we were talking pre-show. Even as young as you were, you still remember it going back to 9/11.
Yeah, I was 3, but I was in preschool, and they sent us home, and I think that was kind of the thing is I remember the teacher next door to us, Miss Francis, walking in and telling our teacher that there had been the attack and that for just respect for any families that may be involved, they were going to send all of us home early. And I remember not really understanding, okay, planes flew into buildings, obviously that's bad, people were dying, but not understanding the full, the whole terrorist side of it and all that. I just, understood plane crashes and, people unfortunately lost their lives. But honestly, it was my first memory really that I can remember as a human being is that day. So, like I said, obviously didn't get the full magnitude of that you understood it and a lot of our listeners, but that shows you how tough of a day it was for our country. And then, like I said yesterday, I mean, regardless whether you agree or disagree, two little kids didn't get to kiss their father, goodnight last night. So it's unfortunate. It's the world we live in. And, we could go on and on about it, but, yeah.
Yeah, and I also just remember 9/11 too. Former ECU offensive lineman Sean Bailey takes me back to when we, talked to him going into the 9/11 ECU football game against South Carolina. His father was a first responder during the 9/11 attacks, and I remember that being an emotional day. It still impacts him and his family to this day. So, it's just I never want to forget or lose sight of that moment, that day. So I wanted to open the show. Obviously, we always talk sports here, and that that's what people come to this show for. But wanted to open with just some of the recent events, and obviously with it being 9/11. So always tough to transition and talk about these things. But I tell you what, let's go ahead and get a break in because we do have to catch up with Chris Burgin, Coastal Carolina play-by-play voice. We had an extended interview with him, and we also went pretty long with Maceo Donald. So we'll get to those interviews on the other side. The chat is open. If you'd like to leave a question, comment, or concern, I will just tease. I'm diving into the film of Coastal Carolina. I've got some takeaways off that we'll get into maybe the latter half of this show, but if not, I'll save them for Friday's show. But diving into that, if you got a question, comment, concern, drop it in the chat. We'll get to it over the course of the next hour. This is Hoist the Colors on a Thursday.
The team of Flatlands Jessup is working overtime to help ensure that Eastern North Carolinians like you get the health insurance help you need this open enrollment period. New legislation passed meaning more people than ever qualify for affordable coverage. Let us help you today.
Big tax credits are back. Get a 30% tax credit, up to $2,000 off your new Mitsubishi electric heat pump install. Let Comfort Master help you take advantage of the tax credits with a qualifying Mitsubishi electric ducted heat pump or non-ducted Mitsubishi electric mini splits. Mitsubishi electric mini splits are ideal for bonus rooms, garages, or sunrooms. If you need a new HVAC unit, call Comfort Master today.
Call Comfort Master. Call Comfort Master.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt & Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt & Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Healthwise Pharmacy rounds the bases with all of your infusion, retail, compounding, and medical equipment needs. Locally owned and operated by pharmacist Marcy Parker, Healthwise has grown to be your most trusted provider for infusion services. Currently providing in-home or on-site infusions in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. Visit Healthwise Pharmacy at 615B South Memorial Drive or call 252-295-0059 to speak to a patient service representative to find the option that best suits your needs.
Tired of the 1-800 numbers advertising Medicare products? Flatlands Jessup has 6 offices all throughout Eastern North Carolina. You get face-to-face help from our local award-winning licensed team. Stop by today. Flatlands Jessup, your whole world covered.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers does real burgers better than anybody. And don't forget about the cheese sticks, fresh salads, and more. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, burgers and sports at its best.
Go Pirates! Arg!
In this age of globalization, we've learned that bigger isn't always better. Ever tried to get phone help from a big corporation from a real person? Right. That's what's so nice about Phelps Chevrolet. After more than 50 years serving our community, Phelps remains family-owned and operated. Mike, Daryl, Wave, West, Alan, and Clay deliver hometown service and integrity, same as always. They share your experience, they share your values, and they are ready to help with any motoring need. Come get you one.
Oh, hey, welcome back. You got here just in time. This is Hoist the Colors on 94.3 The Game.
Welcome back into Hoist the Colors. We are 2 days out from East Carolina's road game at Coastal Carolina. Both teams 1-1 on the season, having lost to an ACC school, along with a win over an FCS school this past weekend. Pirates and Chanticleers. We've got Chris Burgin, the Coastal Carolina play-by-play voice, back on the program. He visited us during the summer when we were doing our opponent preview. Now, Chris, we know at least a little bit more about these two teams as they have played 2 games with mixed results. Just kind of what are the early vibes, Chris, down in Conway about this Coastal Carolina football team heading into Saturday?
Well, Stephen, first off, thanks for having me back. Good to chat with you. And I think we probably know actually a little bit more about East Carolina than we do about Coastal Carolina. Just has not been the start I think Tim Beck had wanted. We chatted back during the summertime about the amount of newcomers coming in. It translated out to about 61 newcomers between freshmen and transfers, split evenly between 30 on one side, 30 on the other, basically, and then you've got 2 new coordinators, an entirely new defensive staff. So we knew this would be sort of a growing pain session to start the season, but I'm not sure we anticipated it would be as difficult, especially offensively, as it has been for Coastal. And part of the reason, they lost, probably if you're looking at what Coastal wanted to do going into the year when Tim Beck brought in Drew Hollingshead, wanted to run the air raid offense, wanted to be up-tempo, move the football quickly up and down the field, wear out the opposing defense. And unfortunately, that hasn't happened because quarterback play has not been all that good thus far. M.J. Morris, who ended up being the starter coming out of camp, partly because, and maybe not only, but partly because the guy I think they wanted to run the air raid offense, Emmett Brown, got hurt during preseason camp, and he's going to miss the entire season. So you had to go to plan B maybe, and MJ just thus far, good kid, I think has talent and may turn into a very good quarterback. He just has not been able to translate that onto the field. He's thrown 4 interceptions thus far this season, does not have a touchdown pass, struggled against Virginia, really struggled against Charleston Southern. Quite frankly, that's a game that should not have been Coastal 13, Charleston Southern nothing. It probably should have been somewhere in the neighborhood of about 45-0 in favor of Coastal. But when you turn it over 3 times inside the red zone, really difficult to build some positive vibes on your offense, and that's basically what happened. You go to the fourth quarter, it's a 3-0 game. And Tim Beck made the decision late third quarter to go to his backup and Tad Hudson, a guy who's got limited playing experience, transfer from North Carolina, highly decorated recruit coming out of high school, didn't see the field at North Carolina, only played in 1 game last year, and that was the bowl game. And really, quite frankly, Stephen didn't have a whole lot of help around him. A lot of the guys had already jumped into the transfer portal by the time bowl preparation had started. So Tad has limited experience with Coastal in one offense and then still trying to learn the new offense and move the team a little bit better. Scored a field goal, and also he had a rushing touchdown in the fourth quarter. So my guess is, and Coach Beck's still playing it somewhat close to the vest, but he hinted at his press conference yesterday that Tad Hudson will probably be the starter on Saturday, but they're still trying to get all their quarterbacks ready to go because that has been the biggest stumbling block thus far has been quarterback play.
Yeah, you mentioned the new coordinator, obviously Hollinshead coming in, Mike Leach disciple, and just curious how that dynamic is going. We know Tim Beck has the strong background as an OC as well, and thus far they have ran the ball more than they've thrown it through 2 games now. As you said, a lot of that is due to your quarterback play, if you're Coastal Carolina. But I don't know, how tough is it? That dynamic of they want to be a certain way, but really they may have to play a different way right now.
That's a great question, and I think that's one that Tim Beck is keeping him up late at night right now trying to figure out. As a matter of fact, Tad threw 5 passes against Charleston Southern on Saturday. Probably could have thrown it more, but Tim Beck was telling me yesterday that he basically told Drew Hollingshead, hey, Drew, let's be smart. Our defense is playing really, really well. Ultimately pitched the first shutout that Coastal's defense has thrown at an opponent in 5 years. So you didn't want to mess that up. You knew you'd already given Charleston Southern a couple of chances on the turnovers. Just don't put it up in jeopardy. Let's run the football, and that's why the running number is probably a little bit more skewed because Coastal just sat on the lead and wanted to get out of there with the win. They've got a very good stable of running backs. They're really happy with basically all 4 of the guys that they play. So that is going to be an aspect, I think, Stephen, you see moving forward with this team. They are going to run the football, but they've got to get the passing game going, obviously, to have any shot to be successful Saturday for sure, and then certainly throughout Sun Belt Conference play.
With Chris Burgin, play-by-play voice for Coastal Carolina, can also check out his work at Sports Talk SC. And who are some of those offensive weapons around the quarterback that Pirate fans could see on Saturday?
Well, that's an interesting question. Well, let's start with the running backs, and Javen Simpkins is going to be more than likely the starter. He'll be number 5 for your fans who'll be at the game. Javen's coming off an injury last year, sort of still working his way back, but he's been solid thus far. They really trust him. He's one of the upperclassmen. He's a junior out of Miami. Then you've got some of the newcomers into the program, and a guy you may see get a lot more carries as the season progresses is a freshman, Dominic Nicely, out of Vienna, Virginia. And he's a young man that has come into the program and really wowed the coaches during preseason camp with his speed, his durability, his ability to run the football between the tackles, get outside and display some breakaway speed. So I think you'll see a good bit of him. You'll see Jalen John, number 21. He's sort of a bruising back. And then Breon Townsend, I don't know how much we'll see him play. Didn't play a whole lot against Charleston Southern. But like I said, they're very happy with 4, even 5 guys. They've got another running back in Javon Edwards that they've given some carries to. So the running back room is pretty solid. They actually joke they call themselves the stable because of the amount of guys they have there. Now, on the wide receiving position, that's still up for grabs because they've all struggled. We've had drop passes, overthrows. It goes back to my initial comments about the quarterback play. But you've got some of the guys that are returnees in Jamison Tucker, Malik Mega and Bryson Graves. Then you've got some newcomers that have come into the program, also a returning in Cameron Wright. Big play potential, just haven't seen it thus far. Robbie Washington has flashed a little bit. Malcolm Gilley you'll also see on kick returns, perhaps punt returns. So the wide receivers there to start the season wanted to play maybe 8-9 of those guys. They'll probably start trimming that down a little bit to more a manageable, say 6 or 7 guys in a rotation, but they've got plenty of wide receivers, just have to get somebody that can get them the ball consistently. Tight end room was pretty solid going in. It's been dinged up considerably. Kane Barong, who was a returnee, he got hurt in preseason camp. He's out for the year. And then they've also lost a couple of tight ends here the past couple of weeks. They're really thin there. But in terms of the weapons around the quarterbacks, it's going to be rely heavily on the running game until you can get the passing game going to. Some guys I think can make some plays, Stephen. We just haven't seen it yet.
I was a big fan of the hire of Jeremiah Johnson as D coordinator. I know ECU at least looked at him a little bit when they were making their D coordinator hire. He did a good job at Louisiana Tech, and it seems like, I know they gave up 48 to Virginia, but it seems like, as you mentioned, the shutout, I think they played probably better in that game than maybe the score showed. Early positives on the defensive side. Are you kind of feeling that?
Yeah, without a doubt. And I actually joked with Coach. I said Jeremiah Johnson may have been the steal in the transfer portal. And he turned out to be, you look at the job he did with Louisiana Tech, I think he raised their defensive numbers in terms of NCAA rankings like 90 points from where Louisiana Tech was the previous season to where they were last year when he was got to them. He does a very, very simple, basic type defense is what the players tell us, but it allows them to play fast. They all love him. Every player you talk to on the defensive side, they all love him. And the Virginia game, keep in mind, UVA ran a kickoff back for a touchdown. They also blocked a punt to set up a short field. So 14 of those points, frankly, not on the defense, and going late into the first quarter, almost to the second quarter before UVA even scored. So I think the defense, led by a very good linebacking core, by Shane Bruce in the middle. That's a name that, even though we haven't seen each other in a long, long time, I think East Carolina fans, if they've looked into Coastal at all, they probably heard of Shane Bruce. Also have gotten Wyatt Gideon back at linebacker. He's a young man that was really, really solid last year, was hurt at the tail end of last season, coming back from an injury, didn't play against Virginia, played very limited minutes against Charleston Southern. I hope he'll be a full go on Saturday because they definitely need him. And then the defensive front's been pretty solid, and I think somewhat of a surprise. So the defense, I don't think you can say enough good things about what they've done thus far for CCU.
Visiting with the Coastal Carolina play-by-play voice, Chris Burgin. Obviously, a lot of Pirate fans went to the Conway Regional earlier this summer, and I think a lot of ECU fans will be going to this game. It's a pretty manageable drive. Also, a lot of ECU fans in the Myrtle Beach and up into the Wilmington area in North Carolina. Just what type of atmosphere, what type of experience is Coastal kind of planning for Saturday night, with it being a pretty big regional game?
Well, I think they're hoping to duplicate, if not go over, and there's not much more they can go over. The fire marshal is going to come by and have a word or two with our athletic department, but they had 22,000 plus at the game on Saturday, which was the largest crowd ever to see Coastal play at Brooks Stadium. Listed capacity, Stephen, is at 20,000, so you can kind of fudge those numbers, I guess, a little bit, but really had a super crowd. They were, especially for an FCS game, and no knock against Charleston Southern. That used to be the rivalry for Coastal back when both programs were FCS level and in the Big South. But I think you're in a situation now where they're hoping to have that same kind of crowd. And I think you have to give a lot of credit to the athletic department for what they did with regards to, we talked about this during the summertime, the free concessions promotion, I think, went really, really well. You figure 22,000 plus at the game, and they ate 27,000 hot dogs is what the athletic department put out. So I think they were very pleased with that. They had a drone show at halftime, which was really, really cool. They've integrated the fireworks and the pyrotechnics into the team entrance. So trying to increase the fan experience at the stadium has really worked well. I will tell East Carolina fans, if they are coming to the game, try and get into the stadium. Don't wait until about 7:15 to roll in. Probably something you guys are used to doing at Dowdy-Ficklin Stadium. You need to get there early so you can get to your seat. Same thing here. Coastal's trying to adjust to having overflow crowds and making sure that they can get the fans in as quickly as possible. I know there were a lot of fans still waiting to get in at kickoff, so they're trying to encourage Coastal fans to start making your way to the stadium, say 6:30, as opposed to waiting until about 7:15. And I would echo those sentiments for East Carolina fans because we anticipate a good many Pirates that will come down for the game.
Visiting with Chris Burgin, a few more things for him, and we'll get him out of here. Just curious. Obviously, you guys covered South Carolina as a whole on SC Sports Talk, but Coastal, we know the tremendous baseball tradition. The football program, it just has only been competing at the FBS level, I think, since 2017. It's still very young. Just how has the support for that program kind of grown? Because they've been very successful for a younger program, if you look at it, all things considered. How has that program grown in the state, in the region, just in terms of fan interest, that sort of thing over time?
Well, you figure, Stephen, when it first started back in 2003, when they were getting ready to start their first season of collegiate football, the team was practicing off campus at rec fields and anywhere else they could find. Now they've just opened a brand new indoor facility, and you're talking about 24 years difference between 2003 to where we are now. So I think, in terms of what the program has done, just growth itself from the FCS level, especially during the Joe Moglia days and the Jamie Chadwell days, where the program was extremely successful, ranked inside the top 10, top 15, continuing to deep runs in the FCS playoffs, winning Big South championships. Haven't had quite that kind of success. Did have a tremendous year back in 2020 against the likes of BYU and ran the table virtually in the Sun Belt to won a Sun Belt title during the COVID season. So they've had some success at the FBS level. Haven't experienced quite the success, obviously, that they had at the FCS level. But one thing we have seen is really the growth in the fan base coming out for football. Started off stadium, probably held about 8,000 when it was initially built, and then added upper deck on the visiting sideline, if you will, that has allowed them to exceed 20,000 fans now at the stadium. So that kind of growth has been great. They will always, and I think Coastal understands this, which is why they're trying to do a lot of things to make the fan experience so outstanding. They are always going to play second fiddle in our state to both South Carolina and Clemson, especially when both of those programs are at home. But what they hope is when maybe the Gamecocks are out of town, the Tigers are off, or they're out of town, that fans of those two programs can also adopt the Chanticleers, especially if you live on the eastern side of our state, and we'll come over and watch them. And I think they've done a pretty good job of doing that. The baseball program obviously has put the university on the map. When you go to the College World Series twice, play for a title this past year, win the championship back in 2016, it's obviously shown a pretty positive light on the athletic department. Now, football, men's basketball, women's basketball, the rest trying to keep pace with what the baseball program has done.
East Carolina, Coastal Carolina, 7:30 on Saturday. ECU, I think, is around a touchdown favorite at last check, but I expect Coastal Carolina to look, I know they've struggled offensively. I expect this to be a dogfight. I know I've watched enough ECU football on the road, and I know Coastal's going to be up for this game. How did the Chanticleers win this football game, Chris, on Saturday night?
Well, it sounds cliche to say, but they've got to stop turning the football over. You can't win games when you're tied for 130th out of, I think they rate 134 FBS programs in turnover margin right now to -5. That's got to stop. And so that will hopefully help get some confidence to the offense. And then they've got to find a way to get the passing game going. Now, whether or not that's Tad Hudson, MJ Morris, Samari Collier, who we may see playing quarterback as well, whomever that is, got to find a way to be able to get the offense generated and get that up-tempo going that we haven't seen thus far. And the defense probably needs to help out a little bit, Stephen, and knock the ball loose a couple of times, get some turnovers against East Carolina, and maybe have some confidence, because I don't know how much that offense is playing with confidence right now, but maybe an early touchdown or two to get the crowd involved. It can be a very loud place at Brooks Stadium, as we saw in the first quarter against Charleston Southern, if you give them something to cheer about. And obviously the defense did throughout the ball game, but the offense sort of didn't meet their brethren and do their part. So I think the key is going to be turnovers. If Coastal can force a few and not keep turning it over, especially inside the red zone, they'll give themselves a chance, and that's all you can ask for going into the fourth quarter of what I think is a very, very important ball game, certainly for Coastal and probably for East Carolina as well, because the Chanticleers open up Sun Belt play next week on the road at South Alabama, which will not be easy either.
He is Chris Burgin, Coastal Carolina play-by-play voice, also a part of Sports Talk SC. Chris, we appreciate the insight once again, man. We'll see you down in Conway on Saturday. Thanks so much.
Stephen, my pleasure. Look forward to having you and all the Pirate fans down here. Should be an outstanding game, and hopefully this is the first of many. I know we haven't played each other since the Birmingham Bowl. Hopefully this will sort of generate a football rivalry between the two that maybe can mirror the baseball rivalry that we already have between the two programs.
No doubt. I couldn't agree more. It should be a lot of fun, and expecting a lot of interesting interactions between the Pirate and Chanticleers fans, just as we saw in Conway for the regional. All right, we'll get a break in. We'll come back. We'll visit with Maceo Donald on the other side, ECU Sports Network sideline reporter. We'll have that for you. This is Hoist the Colors on a Thursday.
Storm season is approaching. North Carolina weather can damage your roof, and before long, a small leak can turn into a big problem. Your home is one of your biggest investments, so protect it with Wells Home Improvements.
We work with all insurance companies for a hassle-free roof installation experience. Call us today and get 10% off your roof installation when you mention this commercial.
252-227-8403 or visit us online at wellshomeimprovements.com. Wells Home Improvements. Local, honest, dependable.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human. About creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leyva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your trusted choice agency.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown. At National Finance, we're all about hometown support, just like ECU football. National Finance helps us win on and off the field. They've got your back when you need it most. Fast, easy personal loans for life's big plays. And just like us, they're committed to Eastern North Carolina. National Finance, proud supporters of ECU athletics. Visit nfcmoney.com for loans as fast as today.
To hoist the colors. It is Thursday, September 11th. Maceo Donald is hanging on. ECU Sports Network analyst and sideline reporter, former ECU football player, and he joins us each and every week. Maceo, that was a game, 56-3 win over Campbell, that I think everybody wants to be a part of, and I believe Blake Harrell told us that like 85 guys played in the game. So when you hear that, when you saw what you saw on Saturday, what kind of goes through your mind?
I think, just that stat right there is unheard of, man. 85 players. I think the whole team pretty much dressed out this past week. They usually don't do that. But that's crazy. It seems like pretty much everyone on the field got in, and just, when that many people play, either you handled your business or the other team handled you. And obviously on Saturday they handled business against Campbell, man. That was a fun night, and the game could have just simulated the end of that game probably at the start of the fourth quarter. It was pretty much over.
East Carolina wins it 56-3, their first win of the season. Maceo O'Donnell with us to recap it. We'll also look ahead to Coastal, talk about his Chiefs losing, and a whole lot more. What stood out most to you, Maceo, just from an overall takeaways? Like, what were you most pleased with watching the Pirates play on Saturday?
Yeah, man, I just loved. I can't say it enough, man. I love the offense. I know Coach Harrell, even after the game, was still saying they want to run the ball better, especially early in the game. But honestly, I'm fine with throwing the ball 35, 40 times a game with Caton and all those weapons we have on the outside. You saw that we got Yannick involved. Anthony and Brock continue to be involved heavily. But it seems like that offense, when it's clicking, it's clicking. And, I think you kind of get that old ECU. It was Zay Hardy and not Zay Hardy, Zay Jones and Justin Hardy. You see them throwing the ball around the field a lot. That's kind of what it brings back, those memories. So I kind of like that offense we're doing, and I kind of feel like we should stick to it, man. Why can't we pass more than we run?
Yeah, I was going to ask, we had a comment on Wednesday's show. Somebody was like, is it clear at this point ECU needs to throw the ball to set up the run? And I kind of agree. I do think maybe if you're facing a specific scheme, or if they're just obviously not having guys in the box at all, you can rethink that. But traditionally speaking, Maceo, I feel like that kind of needs to be the approach moving forward. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I think so. And obviously we had some success against Campbell for obvious reasons. We have better players than them, so we should be able to run the ball and pretty much do whatever we want to do. But honestly, the major success I feel like we've had is kind of doing speed option. I think Marlon Gunn scored on that against NC State in kind of the same play this past week, and that's the most success I feel like we've gotten in the run game. So I do feel like the pass, we're passing, able to complete the ball. I think that kind of opens it up for us. But when we start running the ball on first and second down, I don't think that kind of shows the success for the rest of the game. It doesn't work much.
I am curious, Maceo, as a former player, and you spent quite a bit of time at running back towards the end of your career. And it's just like, I don't know if the casual fan understands how much goes into the running game. I mean, there are so many moving parts, making the right cut, the offensive lineman making the right block. And watching the game on TV or watching it from the side, it's really hard to, see what the problems are. It's almost like you need that view from behind, to really diagnose it. But what are you seeing as a former player that's kind of leading to some inconsistencies there? Are the running backs, are they missing cuts? Is it is it lacking a push off the initial snap? Are they not breaking enough tackles? Kind of what's your take on it?
I think, just initial thoughts. Obviously, I don't have the film, but the initial thoughts, it just seems like we're not getting a lot of push just off the bat on the line. I think this group a lot of them have still played, but, it's not a group that has too much cohesion up there. So I think that's probably the biggest thing. And, I think our running backs all are different. Marlon Gunn's not going to really juke many people out. I think London can pretty much do everything. So you see kind of Marlon's kind of falling forward most of the time, and London is trying to almost wiggle his way around. And, when you have an O-line that's still figuring it out, you just have to hit it. But most of the time, I just feel like we're not getting the push and just maybe not blocking it the way you want to. But I can also see it being pretty difficult with just that high-tempo offense and running everything quick and trying to ID the mic and things like that. So it can maybe be hit or miss, and I think you're maybe relying on the pass game, too, to just open things up and then you can gash them. But I don't know. I still think it's too early to tell, really.
Yeah, just 2 games. Obviously, I also am curious. Obviously, we're seeing mainly inside zone concepts. You mentioned the outside pitches at times, the speed option. But when you're running that inside zone, like when you made the transition from receiver to running back, how long did that take you to just to get the feel down? Because isn't it almost like a feel thing? You're waiting for that crease to open up, or kind of learning how to read those blocks.
Absolutely. For me, it was more instincts, but they still teach you the fundamentals of how to do it. And that from a person that just was used to getting the ball and just letting your instincts take over, which not everyone has. It was different just learning, where you're actually looking at and what your eyes are doing and what the O-line's doing. But these guys are veterans, so I don't think, at least for Marlon Gunn and London, it's probably not that big of an issue. They know where they're supposed to go and, what they're reading and everything with these inside zone plays. But inside zone plays are kind of a man concept, so everyone kind of has their man and double teaming going to the backer. So it's not a tricky concept. It just seems like everyone's got to execute, because one person misses their assignment, the run play is dead.
Maceo O'Donnell with us, former ECU player, also the sideline reporter on the ECU Sports Network. Pirates 1-1 after a 56-3 win over Campbell at Coastal this weekend. We'll talk about that in a minute here. But, man, the defense, Maceo, we discussed it in the preseason. We were, I think, all kind of worried about the defense, especially that D-line. J.D. Lampley, I asked him earlier this week. He said he's kind of taking it personal, the D-line has, that people were kind of questioning them. And you know J.D. well, obviously. So I don't know, what do you make of those comments and the fact that this defense has something to prove right now?
Yeah, I mean, after the game, got the chance to interview Preston Carr after the game, and he was just kind of like, we take it personal, and, we felt like they shouldn't even score 3 points. So I think those guys up front have to set the tone, and they were without Xavier McIver. I think he's battling maybe a knee injury or something like that, so he's been out a little bit. But they still had a really good game, and, I think that's all you want. Those guys have to be dogs and have to be super aggressive up front, and, I know Coach Tesh is like that also. So it's no surprise to hear that from Preston or JD.
Tegan Wilk has come back, and, I'll be honest, I didn't know what to expect out of Tegan. He's an old man at this point. He's almost as old as I am. But, it's just one of those things. It's like, he's healthy, man. He looks great on the field. He's making plays. Is that just the biggest thing with Tegan, just being healthy? Because he looks great out there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's playing safety. So, I mean, he's taken so many hits over his career. And I think before he left, ECU was a neck problem or something like that. Yeah. He hardly played that season. So, obviously, when you're healthy and you feel confident in your body, you're going to go out there and be able to play fast and not really think about it. He was flying around against NC State, and he was flying around against Campbell. And I was talking to one of the coaches and I think some of the staff, and they were like, I think Tegan's kind of mellowed out. He's that veteran now, the guy that knows what to do, the leader of the group. And he was always just that guy. I just remember when he first got to ECU, was hitting when we weren't supposed to be hitting. I think it was a tag practice or thud practice, and he was, trying to take dudes out. It's being an offensive guy, you kind of like mad, but that's just who he was. And he's always a big hit guy, big play guy. So I love seeing him out there. One of my teammates, I was there with at ECU. So it's good to see him performing and healthy.
All right, I believe Brock Spalding, he was a freshman, right, when you were a senior.
Yeah.
I just, I know he's a good receiver. I'm just almost kind of in awe what he's doing, man. 9 targets, 9 catches, 178 yards. I mean, would you, did you see any of this when he was a freshman on scout team redshirting early in his career? Did you see this coming?
Oh, of course. I mean, I think everyone saw it coming, and he was an early enrollee. I think him and Sam Danka and maybe JD, they were early enrollees that year. So obviously when you have early enrollees, you see some potential there. And Brock just came into a room with a lot of veterans. Myself, CJ Johnson, Ryan Jones were there, Shane Calhoun, his freshman year. So Tyler Savage. So he came into a room with a lot of guys that had played. And, that year, I think it was kind of a waiting your turn moment, and maybe the last 2 years have been like that for him. But, I mean, I don't know if people know, but Brock probably has the best hands on the team, probably. I mean, Brock wears like a 2 or 3X gloves. Most of us are wearing like larges. That's what CJ wears, and CJ Johnson was wearing, and CJ's like 6'3", and Brock's like 5'9", 5'10". He has really, really great hands, will catch anything. So I think it was just waiting his turn and just learning how to play, learning how to be a college athlete, and just being able to not make mental mistakes, mental errors, and go out there and be consistent. So I think that's what we're seeing from Brock, and it's exciting to watch. You kind of feel like a proud old guy with me, because he was, in the slot room with us, and he was a young player, and I was the oldest guy in the slot room at least. So it's just great seeing him play, man. I texted him, told him good job, and I hope he continues to do that.
No doubt, doing a great job for the Pirates and really emerging as that third guy behind the Smiths at receiver, if not even above him.
Maybe the first.
Yeah.
Maybe the first.
For real, he's
maybe
been
the
awesome.
First.
ECU at Coastal, Saturday night, 7:30 is the kick time. And, look, some people are looking ahead to BYU. I know that Blake Harrell is not. I know he is not letting his team do that, because we've seen ECU go on the road and struggle in these types of games, Maceo. This is not an easy spot. Coastal is going to be amped for the Pirates. Yeah. So just kind of your expectations going into this one. I do think ECU probably the better team, but they got to go out and prove it.
Yeah, they do, and this is like another road test for them, and still probably a good crowd just because of proximity for them and for us. But, you kind of spoke about my column. I was sitting here writing it earlier, and I was just like, I think the guys are feeling pretty good and see kind of the future and what could be, but, you got to take it 1 week at a time. That's exactly what I was thinking, looking ahead at BYU and thinking of that potential matchup. And, I think whoever decides when we play the games thinks it might be 2, being that it's a 7:30 game. So I think this week is all about handling business, similar to last week. I think when you feel like you have a better roster, a better team, more experience, and a quarterback, which we have, I think it's all about handling business and just doing what you're supposed to do. Obviously, execute and just stacking another week. Because once you get on a roll, it's kind of hard to stop.
So East Carolina will play this Coastal team, and they've got a new coordinator from Louisiana Tech. I'm curious, Maceo, they employ this 3-safety defense where they have 3 guys mainly back. Did you ever play against that in college? It was kind of like a newer scheme. Like Iowa State made it, I want to say, kind of adopted it, and then it's kind of trickled out from there. Do you remember ever facing a scheme like that? And if so, what challenges does that kind of present?
I want to say Navy. You can go back and look at our Navy game from maybe it was 2022. I think we're wearing the all-white uniforms and the white helmets. And I think they were kind of playing that just 3 high, just keeping everything as possible in front of them. So I think that's what they're trying to do, especially with someone like us who likes to take shots. They're going to try to keep everything in front. However, we like to run a lot of seam balls and go balls, which you can kind of be able to put on the money with an experienced quarterback in the cover 3 or just 3 high safeties like that. At the same time, it can kind of look muddy in there with the linebackers and just the safeties over top. So I think it'll be interesting to figure out. I know JDB is ready for it, and that offense, I love it. I can't say it enough how much I love that offense and wish I had that offense when we were in college.
Yeah, I was going to say last year, ODU, they run similar scheme. And I remember Jake Garcia attacking the seams when he did have success. And I remember also ECU had to stick to the running game. It wasn't pretty. It was like 3 to 5 yards. We may have to see some of that Saturday because if they come out with a 3 high look, you got to at least run the ball some. Otherwise, you're kind of just playing their hands, right?
Yeah. I mean, we all know we have to run the ball at least a little bit. Just, even if you're just average. And I don't even know if we're average yet. We might be a little bit below that. But our offensive passing game is just so explosive. It's like you don't want to play into a team's hands, so you've got to be able to do both. But I think people are looking at the film and watching that we caught 15 different players caught a ball. I think before we really even got deep into the bench, 10 different players caught a ball. So I think people are dangerous about that, and you don't know who's going to hit you at what time.
I'm just wondering, were you down there trying to find a jersey to go catch a football as well?
Dude, I was talking to Rajay on the sideline. I was like, dude, I wish that our class, well, he's a little bit younger, so he played in it, but I was like, I wish we had this offense, man. It still looks like it's so much fun. When we were there, it felt like that, we kind of stuck to our 4 or 5 or 6 guys on the outside, and, we like to run the ball a lot, which is fine. We had one of the best running backs, I feel like, in the country, in Keaton Mitchell, and then Rajay Harris backing him up, basically spitting time, but that offense is just, it's a receiver's dream, just to be able to go out there and know that for the most parts, even in close games, that 8, 9 guys have the potential to catch the ball on any given Saturday.
Maceo Donald with us, ECU sideline reporter. A few more things from Maceo. We'll get him out of here. All right, so what happened to your Chiefs, man?
I don't know. I think the defense just looks so bad. I think we weren't really able to get any pressure on Justin Herbert. I don't think they were always open. Keenan Allen, Lad McConkey, they were always open. So I think that was the big thing that stuck out to me. And then we just keep getting players hurt. Our best players just keep getting hurt. Xavier Worthy got hurt early in the game. And, I'm kind of to the point where it's we just need a star. We just need to go ahead and get a star. Every team I look around, the good ones have a star running back or receiver. So I'm hoping, the Dolphins are sucking right now. So hopefully they might trade Tyreek Hill back. Might be for too much money, and we can just turn things up again how it used to be, the good old days.
You got to do what it takes. I'm looking at the Chiefs ESPN page, and they have a picture of Tyreek Hill and potentially, making that decision to trade for him. So we'll see. They got the Eagles this Sunday. You think they bounce back in Arrowhead?
Got to. Have to. And I think it helps a little bit. The Eagles are obviously really good on offense, but the Eagles' defense didn't look great either against the Cowboys this past week. CeeDee Lamb, he probably would have had almost 300 yards if he caught those 2 or 3 he dropped in the fourth quarter. And so I think they have a chance to get open. I don't know if we have a guy like CeeDee right now, but I think we'll be able to get open to see what the defense will be able to do. So got to win. A big win at home.
Other week 1 takeaways, man. Bills, Ravens, what a game. Baltimore really kind of blew that one. He hated for Derrick Henry because he was a beast, but he had the crucial fumble. Keaton Mitchell inactive. That was a surprise. I saw Harbaugh say that it's special teams related and also kind of when he's in the game, the defense knows he's probably getting the ball. So I understand that, but also, man, there aren't too many guys with his speed out there. So I'm kind of ticked off at Harbaugh right now.
Yeah, I think it was. They drafted a guy, I think, this year in the draft. I forgot his name, but I think I did see something that said he played a lot more special teams, which obviously, unless he's like 5'9", like he in 190 pounds, he's probably playing more special teams than someone just with that build in general. But I think with a guy like Keaton and that running offense that they have, they're going to find a way to get him involved and get him the ball because, if he has a little bit of crease, he can take it all the way.
Well, how about we get Keaton Mitchell on the Chiefs? And I know that Patrick Mahomes can get him the ball in space. I mean, Andy Reid could download some stuff for that.
Oh, yeah. I love it. We got to get Pacheco and these older, big, slow guys out of the way, man.
Any other big takeaways from Week 1 NFL for you?
I just think it's going to be fun, though. I think, obviously, the Bills and the Ravens seem to be the best teams. I know the Ravens kind of folded at the end, but to me, they seem like the best teams, which is – not good for the Chiefs, but it's kind of been like that every year. They have a really good regular season, and the Chiefs just some way figure out how to beat them at the end. But we'll see how good the Packers are. We'll see how good Jaden Daniels is this week. That's the one I'm pretty excited about.
Yeah, that'll be Thursday night. That'll be an awesome game. Looking forward to that one. And maybe Phillips Panthers can put up a better fight against the Cardinals in Week 2. At least we're not a Panthers fan, Maceo.
Yeah,
better hope.
I was about to say,
Phillips,
we better hope. Your Broncos didn't look much better, but at least they got the
dub, man.
They got the win.
Yeah.
I apologize to Maceo on Saturday. I was I'm sorry your boys didn't put up a better Week 1 show, and little did I know what I was in for the next day. I meant it genuinely, too. Like, I wasn't rubbing it in, but yeah, it was rough.
Yeah, it might be that time.
I'm going to go on a limb, and I'm going to say that all three of our teams will win on Sunday. I think the Panthers bounce back for the Cardinals. The Colts come down to earth against Denver. And I think the Chiefs are going to get it done against the Eagles. I'm going to lock in the parlay.
4 o'clock, man.
Yeah.
These are the only 3 4 o'clock games all of our teams are playing.
There you go.
That's why we're not hanging out.
The Panthers are probably going to lose, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Hey, at least I got a high school teammate on the Cardinals, so at least I got that going for the Cardinals.
Well, that's awesome. Hey.
All right, Maceo, this was great, man. Hey, we will reconnect next week. I'm hoping that the Pirates take care of business and then it sets up a big showdown versus BYU, man. But I appreciate the time and the insight as always. Always great to talk with you.
Yes, sir. I'll talk to you guys later.
Absolutely. That's Maceo Donald. Check him out. Also, the Just Say It column. He does a great job with that. And really good opinion writing. Also just does a great job covering things for the Carteret News Times. You can check it out, CarolinaCoastOnline.com for that information. All right, we'll get a break in. We'll come back. We'll continue on this Thursday edition of Hoist the Colors.
It's time to soak up the savings at Greenville Toyota. Summer is here with hot deals on a great selection of new Toyotas, like a Corolla, $189 a month, or Tacoma, $279 a month. Soak up the savings at Greenville Toyota.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt & Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt & Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Daughtridge Gas and Oil has been your dependable propane supplier for 95 years. Their trained technicians can service and properly install all your propane and natural gas appliances. Plus, Daughtridge Gas and Oil is your backyard expert with fire pits, grills, smokers, and more, including quality outdoor furniture at their Greenville Patio and Hearth Shop at 1901 Charles Boulevard. Go by and see the knowledgeable staff at Daughtridge Gas and Oil for propane delivery or call 756-1345.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville, we've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked-to-order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
definitely a reflection of who I am. Wild, fun, fiery for sure.
He just goes with the flow.
Me and my hair, both untamable.
I wear it how I feel.
Feel fearless.
Feel empowered. Look fantastic.
Look fantastic.
Look fantastic. Feel unstoppable.
Unstoppable.
The sun is out, and so are the deals at Greenville Toyota. Soak up the savings on a hot selection of new Toyotas, like a Camry, $229 a month, or RAV4, $289 a month. Soak up the savings at Greenville Toyota.
With Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game.
Hoist the Johnny Roger!
Now, back to Hoist the Colors.
It's our final segment here, Hoist the Colors. We've been diving into East Carolina, Coastal Carolina throughout the show. We got a in-depth report from Chris Burgin, Coastal Carolina play-by-play voice. So this morning and during those interviews, we recorded them earlier, I was diving into the film, watched the most notable plays from the Virginia game, around 15 minutes of game action, and then watched some of the first half of the Charleston Southern game to get an in-depth feel for what to expect from the Chanticleers as ECU goes to take on the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers in Conway. Philip Pilkington back in the studio. So a couple things stood out to me, Philip. We'll get more into this Friday with Bobby, but the two guys to watch on defense, I really think this defense is solid because they gave up 48 to Virginia, but they also their special teams were just absolutely horrific during that game. They gave up a kick return where the kick returner wasn't even touched, a pump block which was not blocked well at all. So maybe that's something easy you can take advantage of. But, I mean, that basically gave Virginia 14 points. And some of the throws Chandler Morris made were into pretty tight windows. What you're going to see from Coastal is if they stick to the same script that their defensive coordinator Jeremiah Johnson typically does, not a ton of blitzing. They blitzed one time versus Charleston Southern. They blitzed, I think, 23% of the time on dropbacks against Virginia. Ton of cover 3, ton of cover 2, cover 4. It's just a lot of zone coverage. Very little man. And they're going to sit back and read the quarterback's eyes. Now, Chandler Morris did a great job of looking off the safeties. So he hit some 4 vertical throws, but they were into tight windows. So if ECU is going to throw the football deep in this game, they've got to be careful. There are opportunities for catch and run. And there are opportunities for running backs and passes in the flat. Now, the key defender to watch here is Zamarion Gordon, number 6. He is your middle safety in this 3-safety look. He'll line up kind of right behind the linebackers, not as deep as the 2 back safeties, but a lot of times he will kind of act as that robber or he'll drop into a deep safety, but he's kind of in that box to help against the run if needed. So that guy, number 18, Zeke Marshall, 6'5", 250 off the edge. ECU's got to find a way to block him. So those are a couple names to watch, but interesting defense, and I think ECU's going to have to be patient against this defense, Philip.
Yeah, they're definitely going to have to. And they're also going to have to kind of look at how they come out. Normally they do come out in that 4-2-5 look, but they do have out of their 4, one of them is more of an outside linebacker, almost how a guy would be in a 3-4 defense, because they will run a little 3-3 stack, especially when a team is coming out of their own end zone. So that outside linebacker, edge rush guy sometimes will line up in that position, and that changes your blocking assignments up front. With a 3-man, they'll run a true 0 technique and 2 5s. And so these are offense or defenses that allow you to run the football for short gains. You're going to have to work to bust out those chunk plays, but they're not trying to tackle you in the backfield. They're not really trying to play hero ball at all on defense. They want you to put together 3 successful positive yardage plays and slowly march down the field. You're not going to have a lot of explosive plays, and I think what the mindset of defense is offenses sometimes in modern college football are not very patient. You have to be very patient against this type of defense, and you can keep your defense off the field, but they're going to make you have 3 successful plays. Again, they don't let up a lot of the 8 to 10 yard plays. They just let up a lot of 3 to 4 yard plays. They rally to the football well. They make tackles. I don't think they're extremely talented, but I think they're solid just football players in the back end. Offense, that's another story, and special teams, we talked about it. We were texting back and forth about it. Can be a little horrendous, so they can give the ball away. You got to take advantage when they give you, a nice little early Christmas present there.
Offense, a lot of speed, not a ton of size. Although Cam Wright, one of the receivers, I remember when ECU recruited him out of JUCO, he ended up going there. He's like a 6'3", 6'4" receiver trying to establish himself as a returner. They have a couple of notable transfers that are trying to find traction, but you're going to see a lot of stuff to the flats, horizontal passing game, and then they try to take shots with Morris. It just hasn't worked thus far. He's been inaccurate, and also the coverage has been good. Johnny Robertson pointed out last season at Western Kentucky, offensive coordinator Drew Hollinshead threw the ball 20-plus yards on 23% of their passing plays. He may be very limited this season, as Coastal was just 2 for 11 for 46 yards and 3 picks and throws over 20 yards. I know we're running short on time, Philip, but they're going to try to take some shots regardless of who's at quarterback. So ECU's just got to be wary of that, and hopefully they don't give up an explosive player or two.
Don't get caught napping. It's tough when a team's usually not successful at it. That's when you're the most worried about it, right? You think about it when you play like triple option teams. Navy doesn't complete a lot of passes, but when they do, it goes for 70 yards. So that's part of it. But also, they don't have Veltenkamp like here. How do you say his name? I always mess his name up.
Veltkamp, yeah.
Veltkamp, yeah. Like the coach had at Western Kentucky a year ago. But like you said, they'll still try it. Just don't get caught napping and have eye discipline.
All right, we are out of time. We'll dive more into this matchup tomorrow. I think turnovers are going to be crucial, as will just keeping penalties off the board, staying ahead of the chains against this defense. We'll dive into that with Bobby Harvard tomorrow. Also make our game picks and more. Will ECU cover the spread? Will they win the football game? We'll discuss that and everything else with Bobby on Friday. Thanks to Maceo Donald, Chris Burgin, as well as Philip Pilkington. We'll be back Friday, 12 noon, to talk ECU Coastal Carolina. We'll see you then.